What's up, guys? So first of all, I want to apologize for the sound of my voice. I'm getting over being sick. I'm actually still kind of sick, so that's why my voice sounds a little scratchy. If it's your first time here, this isn't how I usually sound. So, yeah, to the video. In today's video, we're going to go over one of the best and probably one of the strongest builds in the entire game. This build is so strong that you can literally solo honor mode. I'm actually currently doing it myself. This build is ridiculous. It's really strong. So we're going to go into how to get it set up, the items that you need, the leveling, all of that stuff. So let's jump into it. So if you haven't guessed it already from the thumbnail, the build guide we're going to be going over is the Way of the Open Hand Monk. As far as your race goes and your origin character, you can really pick whoever you want here. In my head, I think it's hilarious to pick Gale as a monk. You know, he's like this super powerful wizard, but he decided that the strongest form of magic was his own two fists. I think that's hilarious in my head, but obviously you can pick whoever you want. There are a couple of options if you are trying to min-max. If you're gonna go with just a custom character, what you can do is your best race choices here are going to be either a halfling. The reason for that is because of lucky, because they can never critically miss. Well, it's not they can never critically miss, they have to critically miss 2 times in a row. So really unlikely for them to critically miss, which makes it a great option for this build. Another option is the half orc. The reason for that is because of savage attacks. Whenever you land a critical hit, you do a bit of extra damage, so pretty good choice there. And then if you do want to, if you're gonna try the solo for honor mode like I'm doing in my my side game, you're definitely gonna want to go with Dark Urge. And the reason is because the Dark Urge, there's a cloak that the Dark Urge gets after a certain bard meets her end. It's really good on this build because you're going to be killing at least one enemy a turn, so you're going to pretty much be permanent invisible. So Dark Urge is a solid choice, and if you do decide to go Dark Urge, I would probably go same thing, either half orc or halfling. As far as your attributes go, you're going to want to do something like this. We are going to respec at level 4, so what we do from levels 1 through 3 isn't super relevant because you do get to level 4 pretty quickly in this game. So just feel free to use the recommended if you want, or you can screen capture this and just use this as my setup. So I'll pause the video here for a second so you can either screen capture this or write this down. Now that you've picked your starting race and your starting attributes, we're ready to rock and roll. As far as the level split goes, levels 1 to 2 you don't really get too much. We get an additional key point, we also get some increased movement speed, and we get some more actions for our key points. We get patient defense, which gives us advantage on dexterity saving throws. We get step of the wind dash, which gives us a bonus action dash, and it also makes it so our jumps don't require a bonus action, so pretty nice for some maneuverability. And then we also get step of the wind disengage, which is basically gives us a bonus action disengage, and same thing, it makes it so our jumps don't use any bonus actions. Once we reach level 3, we're going to get access to our subclass, and our subclass choice here is going to be Way of the Open Hand. This gives us some new options for our Flurry of Blows. The first one is Flurry of Blows Topple. This gives us a chance to knock an enemy prone. This one's really good, and it's probably the one you're going to use the most. The second is going to be Flurry of Blows Stagger. This gives us a chance to stagger an enemy and make it so it can't take any reactions. Kind of okay, not super relevant. It might be good in some niche situations. Maybe you got to move a caster out or something like that. And then you have Flurry of Blows Push. This gives you a chance to push an enemy 5 meters away, which is pretty nice if you're trying to push something off a cliff, but the one you're going to probably use the most is going to be Flurry of Blows Topple. At level 4, we get access to our first feat, and the feat that we're going to be going with is going to be Tavern Brawler. You are going to want to take the plus into your constitution instead of your strength, and there's a reason for that, and the reason for that is we are going to completely dump our strength with a respec. Once you dump your strength, you're going to want to make your way to Auntie Ethel, either in the Druid's Grove or the Tea House. Since you are now addicted to drugs, aka elixirs of Hill Giant strength, it's important you don't piss off your plug, aka Auntie Ethel. Make your way to Ethel and purchase every single elixir of Hill Giant strength she has. She should have 3. She will replenish these every long rest, so make sure you visit her after every long rest to resupply. At level 5, we get access to one of our more powerful abilities, which is Stunning Strike, which does exactly what it sounds like. It has a chance to stun a target. We also get an additional attack. Level 6 is a huge level for us. We get to further increase our movement speed, as well as get key and powered strikes. This allows our unarmed attacks to count as magical for the purposes of overcoming enemies' resistances and the immunity to non-magical damage. It also allows us to imbue our strikes with necrotic, psychic, or radiant damage. This is really important when we get to the itemization section, so make sure you remember this. We also get wholeness of body, which gives us an extra bonus action, as well as the ability to recover 1 key point per turn. This lasts for 3 turns and is replenished after a long rest. Once we reach level 7, we're going to start putting levels into Rogue. Level 1 Rogue doesn't grant us much except expertise in one of our proficiencies and sneak attack. We unfortunately can't really make use of sneak attack because we're going to be using our hands, not any melee weapons. Level 2 Rogue grants us Cunning Action Dash and Cunning Action Disengage, which is exactly the same as our monk version of this, except it doesn't use a key point. So if you need to dash or disengage, just use the Rogue version moving forward. We also get Cunning Action Hide, which lets us hide as a bonus action. This can sometimes be useful if we cannot reach an enemy, but most times you're going to want to use the bonus action just to punch stuff more. Rogue level 3 is when we get access to our subclass. There are 2 options here. You can either go Thief, which is what I think most people usually go, or you can also go Assassin. I personally like Thief because Thief makes you better for the whole fight, while Assassin makes your first turn insane and the other turns are just kind of okay. So if your fights are more drawn out, then go for Thief. If you're killing stuff on turns 1 and 2 and constantly surprising enemies, then go for Assassin. So the last 3 levels, you have 2 options. You can put the final 3 levels into Monk and just call it a day. If you decide to do this, you'll get 1 more feat at Monk level 8. The feats I suggest here are either Alert, Lucky, or Athlete. The other option is you can take 2 levels in Fighter to get Action Surge and then the final level into Monk. The downside of going this route is you do not get access to a second feat. But this is really just personal preference. I've tried both options and they both perform extremely well. It's really just whichever one you like or prefer more. For Act 1, the first thing you're going to want to get your hands on is the Sparkle Hands. You can pick these up in the Decrepit Sanctuary. This is where you find the Shadow Druid's missive that links Kaga to them. This gives us bonus damage to our unarmed attacks, and it will also give us advantage against enemies that are wearing metal armor, which is basically most of the enemies in the game. If you don't have a caster that's going to use the Protecty Sparks Wall, this also pairs nicely with these gloves. This will grant us +1 AC and +1 saving throw as long as we have lightning charges, and we're pretty much always going to have lightning charges. This item is located in Grimforge in a gilded chest at the end of a trapped bridge. For our helmet, we're going to want to use the Lifebringer. This just gives us temp HP whenever we gain lightning charges, and we're always going to be gaining lightning charges, so we're always going to have temp HP. You can buy this item from Blurg and the Myconid Colony. For our cloak, we don't really have any good options in Act 1, unfortunately. For boots, we want something that makes it so where we can avoid difficult terrain, so we either want the Boots of Genial Striding, which can be purchased from Blurg, or we want the Disintegrating Nightwalkers, which can be looted off a Nier after you kill him. For our ring and amulet slots, we don't really have any good options for Act 1, so the Crusher's Ring is always nice for the increased movement speed, or the Sparks Wall, which makes it so where we cannot be electrocuted. For amulet, you can use the Sentient Amulet, which you will get from a locked chest in Grimforge, but I never really found myself running out of key points, so I never really used it. But if you want to use this, go right ahead. Once you get towards the end of Act 1 and you run into Lady Esther outside of the Githyanki Creche, you're going to want to pick up the Graceful Cloth from her. This is our best in slot chest, and we will use this for the rest of the game. It gives us +2 dexterity, as well as giving us advantage on dexterity checks. So if you do not have a rogue in your party, with this chest, you can basically do all of the same stuff that rogues can. Unlock high DC chests or doors, find and disable traps, etc. Once we get to Act 2, we're going to want to make our way to the ruined battlefield. There's a pair of gloves there called the Luminous Gloves that you can loot from a potter's chest after killing some measles. Remember when I mentioned our level 6 ability that lets us make our fists do magical damage? Well, the Luminous Gloves gives the enemy a debuff every time you do radiant damage. Since we can toggle our fists to always do radiant damage, we're always applying this debuff. This debuff gives the enemy a -1 to hit for each stack of radiant orbs, and we're able to apply this several times a turn, making it really hard for the enemy that we're targeting to hit us or any of our allies. We are going to be using these gloves for the majority of the game, only replacing them towards the end of Act 3. The other upgrades left for us in Act 2 are going to be the Cloak of Protection, which is sold by Quartermaster Tally in the Last Light Inn. the Ring of Free Action, and the Risky Ring, which are both sold by the Drow Merchant and Moonrise Towers. You can also use the Killer Sweetheart if you choose. This is a reward at the end of the self-same trial in the Shar Gauntlet. This grants us a guaranteed crit after killing an enemy, and then it goes on cooldown until long rest. I think it's an okay ring, but for me personally, I don't like using items that are only good once per long rest, unless the effect is just insanely strong. So I guess you can use this if you really wanted to, and just swap it out once it goes on cooldown. But I think not being affected by difficult terrain and getting advantage on all of your attacks is just better. We are wearing most of our best in slot gear once we reach Act 3, but there are a couple of upgrades once we get to Act 3. First of all, you're going to want to be on the lookout for reagents to make elixirs of Cloud Giant strength, as well as any vendors that sell them. If you're going to craft them, make sure you have a dedicated potion crafter to duplicate the elixir. If you don't know how to make one, I'll put a link in the corner of this video to a potion crafting guide that I came up with. The next big upgrade for us is the Gloves of Soul Catching. These are given as a reward after completing the quest to save Hope. These give us +2 to Constitution, and once per turn we can either choose to heal 10 HP or grant our next attack and saving throws advantage. It also gives our unarmed strikes an additional 1 to 10 force damage. These gloves are insane to say the least. These gloves allow us to take off the Risky Ring and get the upside of having advantage without the downside of having disadvantage on our saving throws from the Risky Ring. The only other real upgrade for us is the Gaunter Mail Bow. But since we don't have proficiency in longbows, we only really use this for the self-cast haste. If you have an archer or someone else who will make better use of this bow, definitely give it to them instead. So that's the build. This build does incredible damage, is extremely tanky, and is really mobile. You're also able to CC difficult targets that you can't kill outright by knocking them prone, giving them negative hit with the luminous gloves, and or stunning them. If you have any questions or feedback, please let me know in the comments section. If there are any other builds that you want me to cover, also let me know in the comments section. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing, as it really does help with the YouTube algorithm. I make weekly content on various gaming topics, build guides, gaming news, game reviews, things like that. Till next time, have a great day/night. See ya.